Into the grand prize draw for two to Dubrovnik, Croatia, sponsored in part by Harry Tarantula Comics. Support the sound of your city today at CIUT.FM.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of CIUT-FM.
Your radio, CIUT 89.5, the sound of your city.
Welcome to the Innovation Nation on Career Buzz, Canada's unique radio conversation that empowers lives, enriches careers, and energizes organizations. Welcome to the Innovation Nation on Career Buzz. Hi, I'm Stephen Armstrong, and I'm pleased to be your host today on Innovation Nation on Career Buzz. Innovation Nation explores the intersection of the real-world business practices and people's career development. We explore how individuals turn their personal passion for innovation into tangible commercial success. Thank you for tuning in this morning. Well, our theme music for this show over the past 4 years has been Working in a Coal Mine, and that song is way back from the 1950s. Today it is actually very, very appropriate because our topic today is disruptive innovation in the mining industry, specifically the Canadian mining industry, which is recognized for its leadership and innovation in safety and sustainability. Now, mining companies in Canada were the first in the world to develop an externally verified performance system for sustainable mining practices with the creation of MACNUTS, the Mining Association of Canada initiative towards sustainable mining, and that was in 2004. Mining represents a gross domestic product of $97 billion, or 5% of Canada's total nominal GDP in 2017. Canadian mining employs 634,000 people in 2017 throughout urban, rural and remote regions. And today we're going to hear about one company's innovation efforts in applying actually artificial intelligence and machine learning to mining operations. Now there's two parts to our show today. Part one will be Dr. Sohail Nazari, and in part two will be Arthur Gush of Andritz. Both of them are from Andritz, and it's a global multinational engineering firm. Now, Dr. Sohail Nazari is the technical lead in digital technologies at Andritz, and they involved in pulp and paper, metals and chemicals and other industries. They are both licensed professional engineers. Sohail has a PhD in electrical engineering from the University of Alberta, and Arthur, who we'll hear from in the second half, has a Master of Engineering from University of British Columbia. They each have just over a decade of professional experience in industrial controls. Arthur's been at Andritz since graduation, while Sohail worked for Honeywell, and I've actually worked at Honeywell myself a long time ago. Their paths overlapped in the artificial intelligence field, and that's how they know one another. Both have built a career, an AI career, on conventional engineering disciplines. What was your engineering discipline, Sohail?
Hello, Stephen.
Hello.
Thanks for having me. It's electrical engineering control systems.
Control systems.
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay. Welcome, Sohail.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Now, let's start off with the mining industry. Why is it so important to Canada? I mean, I've given some statistics: 5% of the GDP, etc. But what's the big picture with respect to mining? I mean, how is it? Canada's known for resources. Where does mining fit in?
Perfect. So just I start with, we have a really good coincidence today that we just had our annual CIM trade show and convention, which basically stands for Canadian Mining and Mineralogy and Mineral Processing and Petroleum. CIM, for your audience to know, was established 121 years ago by Parliament of Canada. Is a non-profit organization that looks after the Canadian mining. So the convention was just last 2 days ago in Montreal. But to come to your question, we have a joke in mining industry is that if you go right now in the street and tell the people like, I don't know, 15 years old teenagers, what do you think about mining? The first question they ask you is, are you talking about data mining or Bitcoin mining?
That's too funny.
Yeah, and it's the problem that
The word has been hijacked.
it's
Well,
been hijacked.
It's a bit like the word engineering, financial engineering, social engineering,
Exactly.
engineering a coup.
Yeah. Well, exactly, and that's something that mining industry is trying to put the words out that actually there, as you said, there's 19% of Canadian export is mining from the mineral processing. Something Canada is a proud nation when it comes to mining and mineral processing, and we have Canada is part of the for 60 minerals that Canada exports. There are Canada has the rank of fifth, basically on based on top 5 countries, I can say, of 13 major minerals and metals. And I give you some examples that maybe your audience don't know about. Is we are first in potash.
And what is potash used for?
Potash is a fertilizer.
Oh, yes, okay. So
And
first in the world.
Yes, first in the world. And then second in the uranium and niobium. Third in nickel, gemstones, cobalt, aluminium. Fourth in indium and sulfur. And fifth in diamond, titanium, and gold. So that's something, that means Canada has a big economic power in the world by producing and also exporting these materials. Now, it's for our generation, it's very important to understand that most of the minerals that Canada exports and produce is actually used in green technologies. Like, for example, the copper, nickel, cobalt are used in the high-density batteries, electrical vehicles, and also turbines, wind turbines, and solar cells. So basically, this industry can adapt to the future needs, and that's in a nutshell what mining in Canada is.
And what about the employment? I think there's an enormous. How many employees in?
Oh yeah,
across
and
the country.
It's
population of 35 million, I think it is.
Yes,
many employees.
And so on 2017, there were around 640,000 people employed in urban, rural, or remote areas.
So that's like near a million. And if you add up all the suppliers,
exactly,
which is like a 30th of the population. In other words, it's massive.
It is massive, and a lot of people don't know about it. And also, another important thing, because it's important for us to have a good collaboration with indigenous.
I was about to ask about the indigenous connection, because of course much of this mining is happening on indigenous lands.
It does, and this is a huge topic in Canadian miners, to have a good collaboration with indigenous communities. And just for an example, private sector, the mining Canadian mining is the largest private sector employer of indigenous people on a proportional basis. Just in 2017, the stats shows that around 16,500 indigenous individuals have been employed in the mining industry.
What areas? And is it just right across Canada? There's no particular focus? Is it Ontario? Is it BC? Or is it just everywhere?
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. But Ontario and BC are the, on precious metals, I can say, are the biggest provinces. And then on potash, then Saskatchewan is another big producer. So they're all over. They're all over Canada, and we all know about Alberta, about the oil and other industries as well. So and oil sand is part of mining as well. It's kind of a mining. And just one thing for the future, our engineers or our graduates that like to know, Canada actually, mining industry actually is one of the highest paying jobs in Canada.
What are the numbers?
And the numbers is around, on average, in 2016, there was a stat showing that it was around $100,000.
Okay, let's break that down. $100,000 is an enormous amount of money to many people, and to say that's the average salary in mining is quite something. So that means, you know, could be there's many people making 200 and 3 and 4 millions actually, executives perhaps. And then there are others, you know, making maybe 60, 50, 70,000 on. That's quite a. What is that? Is that because there's a lot of high skills in mining? It's mainly a high skilled business, whether it's the trades or engineers and so on. Try to break that down. Or is it skewed because so few are making millions in terms of executives? Like, because that could also skew the average.
I don't think that's because of that. The reason is because the mines are in the very rural area.
Very remote.
And remote areas. Yeah, and they are in the remote areas, so people who are dedicated in this industry, they have to go to these areas and work there and come back. I wouldn't say hardship because there are really nice camps to live in there, but and to answer your question, if it's just high skilled work, no, there's a lot of low skilled work as well that they earn a good amount of money in this industry. So I would say it's all a spectrum of skills.
Now, you're an engineer, you're not a geologist, but I'll try the question anyway, and that is, why is it all the mines are found in the northern environments? It's a geological phenomenon, but do you know, it's a matter of interest?
I don't think all of them are in the northern areas, actually. Like, for example, Sudbury is not in north. It's
not way north, but it is north. It's still, what, 5 hours, 6 hours north.
That is true. And we have a lot of mines in near Vancouver, actually, in BC as well. So near Kamloops and Kelowna, that is not that much north. But to be honest, I'm not a geologist. So
it'd be an interesting question. Because I did study geology a long time ago, but I don't know if it's to do with the ice. I'm not sure the ice flow. You know, the ice would covered the earth at that time. But it would be an interesting. Maybe if a geologist knows, you could email us and let us know why is it that so much.
I will. I can ask my friends from the geology department and let you know for sure.
Right. We're going to be talking to Arthur, your colleague, in the second half, but let's talk about you. How did you get into this field? I can tell, or I think, you're from Iran originally.
I am from Iran.
What's your story? How did you get?
Okay, so first of all, I'm a proud Canadian. I love this country, and my story is I immigrated from Iran. But I didn't do mining. I've done mining for the last 4 years, but it gives you a little bit of background how I got into engineering. My family, all my family are actually on medical sciences, and but I love
in Iran, or did they immigrate here?
They're all in here.
They all immigrated.
Yes,
here. Okay,
yeah. But then back in the days, my family and medical field, and I loved mathematics and physics. And in Iran, there is a national entrance exam, which basically everybody that finishes high school have to go through that exam, and it's a standardized test.
For what?
For getting into a university.
Okay.
And
any degree.
Any degree,
okay,
yes. And then, so you have like science degrees, and you have the engineering degrees, and basically a lot of like around million people million students participate. But based on your rank, you get to choose what program you want to study. But there are some things that are in demand. So electrical engineering in a particular university was a very in demand, Sharif University of Technology. And basically education is also free. So I participated in the exam. I got a good rank. My rank was 5th.
In the country?
In the country, yes. And that's why
that's something.
Well, I studied for it, and that's why I was like, okay, so I just go and study electrical engineering in Sharif University, which basically I didn't know that much what electrical engineering is, but after that I loved it. I loved it so much that decided to continue in the control systems, which is basically controlling all the different processes, processors, machineries, exactly. And I did my bachelor there in Iran. I did my master's in Iran as well in electrical engineering, and then I got a scholarship from University of Alberta to do my PhD. And just maybe you are interested to know, I never applied to United States. I wanted to come to Canada.
Why?
I loved Canada. It's because with our family, we lived in Canada for a year and a half. So in my childhood, I really loved it. So I wanted to come back. And since then, Canada has opened its arms. Should we say her arms or his arms? Is that...
I don't know, but it is not. Neither are politically correct.
Yeah, it's arms. Yeah,
they arms. Their arms.
And then,
I'm not sure, but
yeah, but it's a land of opportunities for sure, and I'm very grateful. So I finished my PhD in electrical engineering in process industries. I started with Honeywell in oil and gas. And after that, I moved to Vancouver and started with Andritz and moved into mining. And I've been working with Andritz for 4 years now, and I love it.
Arthur's going to talk about Andritz in the second half a lot more in the specific processes. But give us I did have a look on the internet, on the website, and it's a massive company.
It is a massive company.
Just give us a little potted history of your company.
It's an old Austrian company, actually. It's one of the.
Austria.
It's an Austrian company, $8 billion revenue, with 35,000 employees around the world internationally. But the main businesses are hydro and pulp and paper, and also mining. Andritz builds the entire pulp and paper plants. It does build the hydro turbines that are in the dams. So people in Quebec and in Ontario know Andritz in the industry because of the hydro powers. And also in mining, Andritz provides a lot of different solutions in mining, machineries, separations, separating solid liquid solutions.
That's all mechanical engineering as well as
chemical. It's a lot of manufacturers, manufacturing and mechanical, and also our division provides automation and optimization solution for pulp and paper and mining industry.
Heavy engineering.
It's a very heavy engineering company, yes.
I'm Stephen Armstrong, and you're listening to the Innovation Nation here on Career Buzz on CIUT 89.5 FM in Toronto and worldwide online at CIUT.FM. Just to let you know, our station is entering, it's the membership drive season where we have to fund this community station. Now, please consider contributing to the station. If any financial donation invested at CIUT.FM. Our established mission is to deliver programming that differs from the private and the public sector. We're diverse and we create engaging programming, and you're going to find people from all walks of life in this station doing very, very down-to-earth programs. Even this program is really industry and career-oriented. Now let's go back to Sohail. Tell me more about the Andritz, because there must be enormous amounts of travel.
I do.
Enormous travel.
I do, because I'm also doing business development for our company, and basically going around doing papers, doing technical papers, technical talks, and talking with our potential clients to provide change into mining industry. That's my job.
Why do they put value in producing technical papers? I mean, are these peer-reviewed academic papers,
yes,
or are they papers for conferences where you're delivering lectures on practical matters, or is it research-based papers that typical university research, like you would have done in your PhD?
Yes.
Which kind?
It's all sort. A lot of them are peer-reviewed. So, for example, the CIM convention. It's a technical Canadian Institution of Mining and Mineralogy, Mineral Processing, is actually a technical convention. So there is a peer-reviewed papers there. And also another in US, there is a non-profit organizations that do peer review, and there are technical conferences. The reason that we put so much investment in generating value in technology is because as a technology company, that's how you survive. That you want to be at the edge of the technology, you want to be contributor, and that's how you be seen. And basically, that's something that I love because my background is research.
I was about to say, it's amazing your academic background. You chose a research path, and you found an industry that values that research.
It does.
It's not just it's not just production.
It is not just
also
production,
original
no.
ideas that they're trying to.
Well, it's the company that values that, and its company values
Is
that.
it because you were in the West Coast, or what? Were you Alberta or B?
I was Alberta and then moved to BC.
And is it? Why did you not go into aerospace or automotive?
It's a good question, but I really like the process industries. I really love the control aspects of process industries. So that's why I stayed in process. And my master's was also in the process control. So that's the path I took. Aerospace would have been very nice as well, but there's a lot to do in process. So why not?
Well, it's vast because your company addresses chemicals, metals, mining. I mean, it's just massive amounts of exposure. Okay, why does the mining industry need to be disrupted? Now, disruptive innovation is going to make radical changes to business processes and technologies or even material science, etc. So why is this? Is it green energy? What's driving it?
The mining industry now has a very big push on innovation and disruption. Now, when we talk about disruption in mining, a lot of your audience might immediately think about safety. I just want to put something out there as a misconception that I think and we think in mining community that general public has. Mining has become very, very safe. So when we talk about innovation and disruption, it's not that much about safety because of the government monitoring and all the bylaws, and mining actually is pretty safe. You always hear something in the news that are very sad, tragic.
I think the last one, I can remember watching a few years. Was it Venezuela or
the Chile? I think I remember Chile.
Yeah,
one. Yes.
and they got them all up, alive. But that was some.
Yes, it was
amazing. And then even the children, they weren't mining.
No,
but they were in a cave.
It was in the cave. Yeah.
So we hear all these stories.
You hear that.
It's very little, though. Really.
It's like airline industry. So look at the airline. You look at the airline industry. Like when you hear airline crashes, it's a tragic incident, but you hear all about it. But does it mean that airline industry is not safe?
No, but we know the statistics are it's safer to fly in an airplane than drive your car.
It's the safest mean of transportation. Mining as well. So when we talk about, so I just want to put that there. It was amazing for me because I wasn't in mining.
Well, it's engineering. Safety is an engineering discipline. It requires robust engineering approach.
Exactly. It does. And it was amazing how much the safety is being monitored and is being practiced in mining. Especially Canada and US, they do a really good job on monitoring all these practices and do that. So coming back to disruption in mining, now, obviously, bringing the technology is the first, and digitalization is the big push right now in mining.
Define digitize, because we hear it all the time. It's thrown out there.
I will get that. Okay. I will get that to that. But I want to say something else that from the convention I brought with me is that the disruption is also means diversification. So that's another disruption that mining industry is looking at, to diversify as much as possible. And that's what mining industry needs. So a diversification between female and male, diversification of the amount of immigrants that work in the mining sector in Canada, also diversification for different backgrounds, from different personalities. Mining industry needs people to come in from not engineering perspective, but coming from like art, coming from business, coming from music,
And what does that instill in terms of what does bringing people from non-technical, non-engineering, non-scientific backgrounds into the mining industry, what does it contribute, and why? Okay, go ahead.
Different way of thinking. And if everybody thinks exactly the same, we're going to stay the
So
same
there's
place.
no innovation?
There is no innovation.
Give
yeah.
us one example where instilling and infusing these kinds of people, or people from a more diverse background, has fostered innovation.
Well, I can. So, for example, the digital twin that we are having as an innovation now. A lot of digital twin is from the process, but then the visualization with the virtual reality of the process, a lot of art is coming into play. So to make things more interesting for the new generation. Another thing is the remote operation of the mines. You know, now our generation, my generation, has learned a lot to play video games.
Yes.
Right? So this very much skill of how to operate through these panels and through these through the video games,
The virtual world.
the virtual world. This is a big skill that we have.
Give an example of the application of that.
The application is actually driving trucks inside
The
the
tunnels,
underground
yeah,
mines
yeah.
and from the remote area
Yeah.
with no problem, and trying to visualize everything.
So driving them real
It's a
trucks.
real-
What about doing drilling, etc., with no
Exactly,
human
drilling as well.
robotic drilling?
It's being happening right now remotely, completely. Yeah. So these are the application. Then the visualization part of it coming from the art and other industries.
Oh,
And
that's where it fits.
yeah, and then things like that. So you need people to think out of the box. Now, when we talk about innovation, you know this better than me. There are improvements and there are transformation.
Yeah, there's incremental improvements
Exactly.
and radical or transformative.
Exactly. So I just want to talk about that a little bit. So there are two parts of the mineral extracting minerals and shipping them and making them actually valuable. So there is a part of mining that we call it, and it's basically extraction of the ore from the ground, inside the ground. And then you have to put it into the processing plant,
Yep.
which is the mineral processing. Now, for the mining part, there is also, again, a public misconception that we are still doing the same way with the mule and an axe and going in there in the ground and then, you know, dig the hole and go in.
It used to be called the Davy lamp. That was the little lamp that was
Yes.
invented in British mines
Yeah.
in the 19th century.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And that's okay. People, I thought about it this way as well. But no, this is not the case. It did transform. The mining itself has transformed a lot from 100 years ago. So when you go inside these underground mines, you see that the technology is flourishing. But on the mineral processing part, there was no transformation of technology. There was more incremental
improvements.
So what ended up happening
So
is that
there's the digging and then the processing. And it's a secondary process.
Exactly. So on the processing part, what happened was only the equipment got bigger, more powerful,
Faster.
a little bit faster, and a little more efficient. But there is no transformation of the way that we do the way that we do the business. So that's why the disruption needs to happen. And then digitalization coming back is basically using digital technologies like internet, computers, which we've been using a lot, but then now data analytics, getting sensors all over places and capture all the data and then use it for optimization. That's what it means, the digitalization. So basically that part in mineral processing can be very helpful.
We have 1 minute before the break, and I know that Arthur will talk more about it in the second half, but there's a Disrupt Mining contest. So just give us a snapshot, because that's what we're going to really unpack
Yes.
in the second half, plus the competition that you guys won.
Yeah.
What is this Disrupt Mining contest?
Okay, so the Disrupt Mining is basically one thing I should say about mining, and this is something everybody knows, is the race to be the second for when it comes to innovation. Because the C-level executives are very afraid to take risks. So there was a joke actually in the open talk. It was like, if you want to do a real innovation, find an old CEO that is about to retire, because that's the only person that,
as long as he's not legally liable, or
Yeah.
she.
is yeah, exactly. That, yeah, I shouldn't have said he's
No,
about
that's
to
okay.
retire, but that's the truth. It's most of the mining executives are male. So
Indeed.
basically we need an organization like Disrupt Mining to actually provide a platform
ideas.
for disrupt ideas, because then if you go to a miner and give them this disrupt idea, they would be very hesitant, and they will always ask you, who has done it before me? I'm going to be second. But an organization like Disrupt Mining from Gold Corp was an organization that actually encourages disrupt ideas.
So it came from the Gold Corp Corporation,
It's
the whole
Gold Corp
idea,
company,
and it's driven
yes.
by them?
It's driven by them. Now we just have to say that Gold Corp has just been acquired by Newmont, so it's now Newmont company. But Gold Corp is the one who was driving it, basically saying that I want to give a platform to everybody to bring their disrupt ideas so that I can support them, and no CEO is afraid of doing it, because this money is coming from a different budget.
Okay, well, let's pick this up in the second half. So
Yeah, perfect.
my guest today is Dr. Sohail Nazari, technical lead at Andritz, the mining company in the mining industry, or many industries. My name is Stephen Armstrong, and you're listening to the Innovation Nation on Career Buzz here on CIUT 89.5 FM and worldwide online at CIUT.FM. We're going to take a break and be back with our second guest, Arthur Gutch. And in the break, we're going to listen to Miley Cyrus, a latest song, Nothing Breaks Like a Heart. And it's written by a British musician, Mark Ronson.
This world can hurt you, it cuts you deep and leaves a scar. Things fall apart, but nothing breaks like a heart. Nothing breaks like a heart. I heard you on the phone last night. We live and die by pretty lies, you know it. We both know it. These silver bullet cigarettes, this burning house, there's nothing left, it's smoking. We both know it. We got all night to fall in love, but just like that we fall apart. We're broken, we're broken. Nothing gonna save us now. Well, this broken silence by thunder crashing in the dark, crashing in the dark. And this broken record spinning endless circles in the bar, spin round in the bar. This world can hurt you, it cuts you deep and leaves a scar. Things fall apart, but nothing breaks like a heart. And nothing breaks like a heart. We'll leave each other cold as ice and high and dry. The desert wind is blowing, it's blowing. Remember what you said to me? We were drunk in love in Tennessee, and I hold it. We both know it. That nothing gonna save us now. Nothing gonna save us now. With this broken silence by thunder crashing in the dark, crashing in the dark. And this broken record spinning endless circles in the bar, spin round in the bar. This world can hurt you, it cuts you deep and leaves a scar. Things fall apart, but nothing breaks like a heart. And nothing breaks like a heart. Nothing breaks like a heart.
We're back at the Innovation Nation here on Career Buzz, and I'm your host, Stephen Armstrong. Before continuing to our next interview, I want listeners to know about Innovation Nation archives. Go to amgimanagement.com and select radio show. There's over 56 previous shows on a very, very wide range of topics, from design thinking, leadership and innovation, advanced manufacturing, engineers and doctors without borders, transformational change, creative destruction, entrepreneurship. It's pretty endless, actually. There's just many, many topics that are very interesting. Okay, so we're back with Dr. Sohail Nazari, and we're also joined, I hope, by Arthur Gush in Vancouver. Our topic is disruptive innovation in the mining industry. Arthur, are you there?
Good morning, Stephen.
Oh, you're there. It worked.
Yes, it did.
Well, you know, I'm always happy about that because so many, when you're doing live shows and you know, remote calls, all kinds of things can go wrong. So welcome, Arthur. It's great to have you.
Hi, Arthur.
Hey, Sohail.
Arthur, did you listen to were you able to listen to the first part of the show?
Yes, I did.
Good man. Okay, so Arthur, we'll let you lead here, and then Sohail can, you know, interject when he thinks he needs to. Tell us about this, Sohail. Just give us a brief introduction to the Disrupt Mining contest and how it impacted your careers. Please expand upon that.
Certainly. So the prize that Goldcorp is offering is really twofold. It comes with a 1 million Canadian investment in the technology into an implementation at one of their sites, and also, which I think is probably more important for us, access and the opportunity to one of their sites to actually deploy this kind of technology. So the road to getting to this really starts with a written application. They basically start with an open call, and then this gets passed through several rounds of judges and cuts, which actually includes quite a few university students that they include in their panels, as well as industry executives and experts in various fields. And then at the end of it, this all comes down to 3 finalists and a Shark Tank style competition at a gala event that they host in Toronto, which I would say is an experience that pretty much no engineering professional career would have really prepared me for that leading into it.
Expand upon that. That's a very interesting statement.
Well, I mean, certainly doing consulting engineering and doing sales engineering, I've had opportunities to do at least my share of presentations internally to my own company and externally to clients and a few at technical conferences. And going back to university, I mean, one is occasionally asked to stand up in front of the class and give a presentation. But those are all fairly controlled environments and really fairly low stress compared to the challenge of being in front of, I'd say, firstly, a much larger audience, but also a panel of judges who are not only trying to critique your idea, but do so in a way that is entertaining to the 500-odd mining executives sitting in front of you.
Okay, so let's just said, so there's 500 executives, and
yes.
What are the age ranges? I mean, who enters this is it just for young? Is it students, or who is it who are actually entering the contest, or is it anyone?
It's a completely wide range.
So it can be a 20-year-old student, or it can be a 90-year-old retired executive.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Okay, so
I just want to add something. So our finalists, the competitors that we had, 2 of them, one of them was a very well-established university professor with another in mining, and another executive that was very established in mining, Anaconda mining. Yeah.
And how many participants? So there's 500 guests who are viewing it. So how many are in the competition? Or many? Could be a team of, could be one person, or it could be a team of a few people, or how does it work? Is it like Is it like TV Shark Tank, where it could be one person pitching their idea, or maybe a team of 4?
It's absolutely like TV Shark Tank. All of the pitches at the competition were given by pairs of people, but in each case, it really takes a village to get an idea that far. So the 2 guys on stage, in our case, are representative of the hard work of a much larger team of people.
Okay, now what was your role, both of you? Were both of you together? I just want to understand this. Is that how you met one another? Were you both in this competition?
Yes. So me and Arthur, we work together. So we are part of a team, and basically.
Were you Team Andritz?
Yes. Yeah, we were Team
Okay.
Andrets. Yes, yeah, we were Team Andrets, and we basically developed the application together and developed the clips and other marketing material that we had to do and all that.
Okay, Arthur, so go ahead. What happened when you were on the stage?
I mean, being on the receiving end of Shark Tank is probably counts as the single most challenging day of my career so far, just because it's a very novel experience. We presented our idea and went through a short question period, then followed by a judge's deliberation and some helpful commentary from our MC, Rick Mercer. And following that, judges, thankfully for us, announced us as the winner. And since then, it's been a real roller coaster of publicity. I mean, being a consulting engineer, I think, sort of predisposes you to hiding in the shadows somewhat and just sort of doing technical work.
How long were you out of school, both of you? I assume you're similar ages, right?
Yeah.
And how long were you both out of school when you went into this competition, roughly?
Were
Were you in your 20s, 30s?
Late 30s, so I've been out of school about 15 years.
Okay.
Yeah, me 10.
But Arthur, you sound like you were nervous. The way you're saying it was like something you'd never prepared for before. And you've done public presentations. What was so nerve-wracking about this? 500 people or what?
Well, I mean to say that there's a combination of the competition aspect, where
I see.
You're walking into it
You're
and
being
only one
judged.
team's walking out with the prize.
You're being judged. That's. And were you both surprised? Arthur, we'll go with you first. Were you shocked when they actually announced it? Was this like a shock?
I don't think it was shock. I mean, we were confident that we have a good technology and that we were certainly worthy of being there. That said, we were standing on a stage against two very worthy competitors. And having spent the day listening to those guys and understanding what they had to bring, I mean, there certainly wouldn't have been any shame in losing to either of them. But, you know, you get into a competition and you want to win.
So I just want to add something here from the personal aspect of it. I think this competition actually made me and Arthur closer together. You know, when you go through trauma.
You mean as friends?
As friends,
of
yeah.
Course,
You know,
it's true. When you go,
when you-
if you have a death of a loved one, or like, I know it's a strange thing. I just suffered that recently or experienced it, and it does bring you. It's amazing how that kind of trauma. It is trauma brings you together with people. It's a lifelong bond.
Yeah, it's like the amount of stress that me and him went through before the stage and on the stage and after that. I think after that I felt like I feel so much closer to Arthur now. And
So trauma is team building. So maybe executives out there traumatize your employees, not necessarily, right? You wouldn't force trauma on people.
yeah, do not.
It
do
happened
that.
as a byproduct of the competition.
It does. It does.
I
it
wouldn't
does.
call it trauma.
Well, it was very stressful environment.
Stressful.
And when the announcement came, we hugged each other and then came on the stage. So it was pretty.
How many was it? Just you on the team, just the two of you, or was you said there was a whole other team behind you, or are you the two up front guys, or
we
what?
were two up front on the stage and leading us. Yes.
Okay, tell me about Arthur. Tell me about the actual technology, and this is really what we're going to dedicate the remaining quarter of the show to. What's the technology that you guys came up with?
So the core of what we're doing is applying artificial intelligence to control industrial processes. And, I mean, this is a subject which gets a lot of media play, but specifically what we're doing differently with this is that we're using our process simulation technology essentially as like a sandbox to train the AI in. So this simulation technology is something that Andrets has had in mining for over 15 years. We've used it basically as a flight simulator to train human operators, so plant operators can learn how to run equipment in a safe environment where they can take a few risks and there aren't environmental or safety consequences to doing it. And at some point we realized that the AI technology exists in the world, but a lot of what you see into the news is this AI getting applied to play things like the game of Go or various other, I'd say, very, very safe but productive undertakings that are certainly impressive in an academic sense, but aren't directly applicable to making money in the real world. And we realized that we were sitting on a perfect virtual training environment, so we...
Just like a flight simulator, just identical, yeah. And virtual product technology, etc., has been very embedded in the aerospace industry for a couple of decades at least, where they're simulating how the planes are built and the workers in before they even build them. So I don't know, when did this technology get diffused to mining? Was it only the last few years, or?
I mean, the simulation has certainly been in the mining industry for at least 15 years from us, probably a bit longer than that even.
From Andritz.
Yes. But, I mean, just like what Sahel was mentioning earlier about getting outside perspectives into the mining industry, what we're really trying to do is cross-pollinate with ideas between industries, where something that can be commonplace in another field is extremely applicable in this industry. And I think that's the concept that really resonated with the judges and why we managed to win the competition.
I'm Stephen Armstrong, and you're listening to the Innovation Nation here on Career Buzz on CIUT 89.5 FM in Toronto and worldwide online at CIUT.FM. As I mentioned earlier, we're in our membership drive season. We're a community-driven radio station, and we are purely volunteer-driven, and we need donations from the listeners to keep the station alive and ticking. And we are a very, very diverse group, and your funds and your contributions help make this station so special and so differentiated from the private stations and public sector stations. So please consider contributing to the station. There's the phone-in lines, and also you can do it online as well. Okay, back with our guests. So tell me a little bit more about the technology and how what is it contributing to Andritz's success? You may want to also give the listeners a little bit more perspective on Andritz, the size of the company and where it operates, and how this new technology is contributing to the actual company's success and your personal success, of course.
Certainly. So Andritz is a company of now about 30,000 people. Spread out globally, and as Sahel mentioned earlier, focused mainly on the supply of equipment. And it comes down to how competitive we can make that equipment. A lot of what gets deployed in industrial process industries, we try, or the industry tries to automate it as much as possible, but a lot of decisions are still made manually by human operators who have to sit in a chair and watch a computer screen and monitor quite a few variables as it's running. And our observation really is that this is a task that humans, just from a physiological standpoint, struggle with. There's been a lot of research on this subject with regards to how much attention span people have.
Fatigue, human factor, this whole face of human factors engineering where there's fatigue.
Yeah, and I mean, this is something that's been very well recognized in the airline industry and in the trucking industry, where both are tightly controlled with regards to how much time a human is allowed to work, because it's accepted that at some point someone's going to start making mistakes.
But yet you don't want to remove the human judgment as well. So it's it's a symbiotic relationship between the AI system and the human, right?
Right. So what we're looking at of ways to do is how to help perform more actions automatically, make more of a move towards autonomous control, so that we don't have people in the position where they're being counted on to monitor things as closely. Because in many respects, it just comes down to the competitiveness of the equipment. When a person who's responsible for running a large plant and keeping track of a lot of things has to do this for a 12-hour shift, there's a really strong tendency to try and sort of park areas of the plant in cruise control. And I don't know whether they're doing this consciously or not, but they're not really running equipment near the edge of performance, because when they do that, they have to watch it more closely, and I sort of consider operators to have a limited attention budget, which is certainly backed up by a lot of research. So if an operator has to pay attention to something closely, then they have to not pay attention to something else. So where this comes back to Andrit's equipment is that if we can provide software and autonomous control that can run things closer to its limits of performance and be that highly attentive operator who's just dedicated to that machine, then that makes Andrit's equipment that much more performant compared to that of our competitors.
Now let's get an example. So this would be applied, it's to the primary digging, drilling, right?
No, we're looking more at the mineral processing aspect.
So it's the mineral processing, where you're crushing, mixing.
You're crushing, you're grinding, and then you are mixing and floating, and then after that you're...
Which is a very automated process.
To somewhat, yes.
And where is it that the human factors there could be fatigued? They try to break it into a specific, right in this moment, somebody's watching this stuff, somebody's monitoring it.
It's a very...
What could go wrong, and what does this system...
So it's a very complicated beast, the whole mineral processing. There's so many nonlinearity happening in the different equipment and different process. And then at each point, something might fail, or the ore body that is coming in might have a different characteristic. So the
it's
ore change...
harder than normal?
Yes, it's harder, it's softer, the minerals will be different.
Could you use powder?
The powder?
No, I'm saying if it's harder, if it's softer, it could produce powder. A byproduct could do something wrong with something to the machinery.
It's exact, or be inefficient.
Yes.
Inefficient. So inefficiency is very important because when we talk about the mineral processing in mining, we're talking about millions of dollars every hour.
And millions of variables.
And millions of variables, exactly. The different hardness of the ore, the particle size distribution changes, the characteristic of the material inside the ore changes, and other factors like the temperature changes, or you have rainy day, you have a sunny day, and things like that. There's so many different variables, and that's why operators have to constantly pay attention. And basically, what Arthur was saying is, you have limited span of attention, so you can't be like that. So there's a big fatigue factor.
And so there must be enormous amounts of sensors on these technologies, sensors of all kinds: heat, temperature, pressure, flow,
density, everything.
Arthur?
Yes. I mean, a mineral processing plant would expect somewhere between 5,000 and 20,000 separate inputs, all of which are available to a couple of people who are responsible for monitoring the consequences of all of those things. So if you think about having maybe 2 people on shift who have at their fingertips, 10,000 pieces of data, that's quite a lot to keep track of at any given point. And certainly the automation helps to an extent, but there's still a great deal that's being left in the responsibility of a couple of human brains who have to sit in a chair for a 12-hour stretch.
I'm envisioning a huge, like a cockpit. Well, no, even I'm thinking like a NASA. Everybody see, with all these monitors, a huge room with all kinds of charts and colored,
You're
lights.
not far behind. Yeah, that's what it is exactly.
A bit like even the U.S. Central Command as they control the world, looking at all these charts and so on of all the events that are happening.
Yeah, it's exactly how it is.
And in the old days, let's say 20, 30 years ago, how many people would have been required to monitor such an operation versus today with the increased use of digital technology?
In the old days, it would have been quite a few more people. Basically because the computing systems didn't exist. So you did have like individual automatic governors essentially of various sorts, but people would have to walk around between the various equipment to keep track of everything. And just because of the physical distances between things, mines employed a lot more operators who were just wandering around. Wandering downplays it unfairly, but a lot more people were required to keep track of everything. And with the rise of information technology, they've been able to centralize the information all in a single place so that you have access to all of it at your fingertips with a computer. And mine management has tended to say, great, well, that means we can cut down the number of people, not really recognizing, I'd say, until fairly recently, that the challenges of a person keeping track of something, it's not like a discipline thing. You can't just order an employee to be more attentive, and there are really physiological limits to how much people can productively keep track of. So I think that's where things are really starting to trend these days.
So why would you, somebody might say, okay, so just instead of having an 8-hour shift for a human, have a 4-hour shift and replace them? What's your answer with that? Like, in other words, to avoid fatigue, obviously building in all these, you're actually, sounds like you've got, there's two systems of monitoring. There's the human judgment and there's the machine or the IT system judgment.
Right.
But the human can easily be replaced. In other words, instead of going 6 or 8 hours, the person can go 4 hours. What's your thought on that?
I mean, that would address the fatigue aspect, but there's still a fairly simple bandwidth aspect.
Of so much information processing a human can do. That's really what you're saying.
And then there are also just real practical challenges regarding how you try and employ a workforce that's focused on 4-hour periods of activity. The number of people, or the number of people you'd need to have on staff, the disruption to their life, and sort of the general expectation of the 40-hour work week would really require revisiting in some creative ways. And it's not to say that that would necessarily be a bad thing, but with our current employment models and preconceived notions surrounding it, I could see that being a really big challenge for a lot of established companies.
It's a work in progress, really.
Yeah, I just want to add something.
We have 2 minutes to go.
So I just want to add something from what we have established here and what we've done. So with the technology, this platform that Andres is providing, now we are opening the door to different talents coming from computer science, coming from gaming industry, to come and work using this platform to try to optimize the mineral processing better. So some of the algorithms that we're using right now is coming from gaming industry, actually. The arcade games, some of the algorithms can be developed by computer science, and this is a door opening to other fields coming into the mining. People who don't even have any experience in mining, they don't need to, because the simulator, the whole operator training simulator, will establish the information that they need from the mineral processing.
So Hill, you're a business development manager and technical lead at Andritz. Are you selling something?
I'm you mean right now?
Yeah.
Or right now I'm selling the opportunity to other industries or other engineers to come work in mining industry.
But you're not actually selling your services, your company services or your capabilities for
in
simulation?
This show I don't, but outside of this show, yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay, so in other words, this technology you guys have come up with isn't just applicable to the particular mining processes. It can be any process.
Any processes, and
it can be food processes,
yes,
etc.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
And is Andritz in that business to apply these technologies not just to mining or chemicals?
Yes, we are. We do it in lime industry. We do it in glass industries and other industries. Yes.
Okay, well, look, both of you, thank you so much. We're unfortunately finished. Both of you are most passionate, both as engineers, as Canadians, and as mining people in the mining industry. You actually love the mining industry. It's quite something. So thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you very much.
You've been listening to the Innovation Nation on Career Buzz, Canada's unique radio conversation that empowers lives, enriches careers, and energizes organizations here at CIUT 89.5 FM. I'm your host, Stephen Armstrong. If you have any comments on today's show or with questions about Innovation Nation, please email me at sarmstrong@amgimanagement.com. Thanks to my guest today, Dr. Engineer Sohail Nazuri and Engineer Arthur Gouch of the Andritz company in the mining industry. An MP3 of this show will be available from the AMGI link at amgimanagement.com. Catch Innovation Nation on Career Buzz every third Wednesday of the month. Thank you for listening in.